What's up YouTube, Dale here from Zephyr, and as you know this channel and you know me, if there is a way to update Dark World in a different way, I'm going to do it. So today I'm going to bring you a profile for Dark World K9. Now, before we all go running off crazy, this is pretty similar to a Themesmith variant of Dark World. Now what I mean by that is the reason that you would play Themesmith is so that you can play through Draw and Lotbird. The exact same reason that you would play through K9 is that you'll utilize K9. Like, you're already going to be activating cards in your hands, you're already going to trigger off your opponent's K9 cards, you might as well utilize your own. The benefit of that one is it allows Dark World to technically have a hand trap-esque ability. So on the flip side to Themesmith, which just lets you go off more during your turn, this gives you the ability to play during your opponent's turn and set you up protection for your turn. It also gives you the ability to set up a play of protecting yourself before going anywhere near Droll territory, and that will then allow you to protect from Droll. You can add more cards to this particular side of the ability to protect from Droll, less so against the Chummies, but even against the Chummies, you still can present a like turn 0, you'll be able to bait out the Chummy. And even if they let you go through K9s, you're like, well, I'm going to hold the Chummy, I'm going to hold the Chummy until you go into an XE. As soon as you go into Ripper, they might be like, okay, Ripper negates it. Depends on how late they kind of hold it. I'm going to take you through the profile anyway. I'll show you what we've got. I'll explain why we've got it. There are some really kind of cool synergies with inside the deck as well that really do help it. So it's not just a K9 engine doing K9 things, but there are some like intricate little components that really do help you out. So with all of that out of the way, please smash that like button, hit that notification bell, and subscribe so you don't miss out on any more upcoming content. Dive in head first with the staple Dark World lineup. Like, this is not going to change. 3 Snow Unlight of Dark World. Now I really do hope that one day we're going to get more like cards like Snow, like more of a starter would be really cool, because Dark Worlds right now themselves, which is why they can utilize stuff like Kokimiru Guardian, Ken and Gen, the K9s, because remember the K9s can actually be their normal summon, so it means you don't need to, like, if your opponent is trying to play around K9s, like, we're not activating a edge, you go, okay, cool, well, you've got 2 cards in the hand, I'll just use them as my normal summon. So the Dark Worlds really do need like their own normal summon of the deck, which would be really kind of cool. Anyway, 3 Snow, 3 Genta, 3 Rainbow, 2 Grepher, 1 Silver, 1 Gold. You can still play 2 silver if you want to. This is just my preference. I like this. I like the way it works. I've got the option if I go first, I'm going to focus on silver. I've got the option if I go second, I can focus on gold. And the other big important thing about these 2 cards is they're both level 5. So that could really help you with your Jockle or your Lantern, both being able to either get the card back from the graveyard so that you can then start returning it back to the hand and regain your resource of Rainbow and Grepher. But on top of that as well, it's also that level 5 you can bring back to the field, utilize it as XE's materials or anything else in between. The 1 Ceruli, again, I'm not purely focusing on I have to go first, I have to hand rip you. It's one of the ones that if I can't hand rip you, I can still set up negates, I can still set up protection and everything else in between. And the other good benefit about this as well is that if you're able to get silver and gold to the field, you can bridge into your K9s, because that's how you can then overlay both of those and go into K9 17 Ripper. Moving on to the K9s. Now, this is where you might be like, well, I've finally been able to get hold of Themesmith. Themesmith have just been reprinted. Why would I go for K9s? That's completely fine and completely valid. You can go that route if you want to. This is one of the ones that if you're a Dark World player like myself and you have access to the K9 cards, what could you do with them? How could they even be considered to be utilized in this particular deck? Unfortunately, there isn't a rank 5 out there that allows us to discard our hands or discard our cards in a more effective way. So I kind of felt that, you know, utilizing the K9s can be our normal summon if we need it to. It can be our extend if we need it to. It can also be a hand trap if we want it to, because a lot of people don't like playing hand traps in Dark Worlds, because the idea is you want to go first, you want to combo as much as you possibly can. But with Droll running around in the format and even the Chummies, you do have the ability to take the Chummy challenge and still protect and end the field, especially when you can activate stuff like Trill Tactic Talents to look at your opponent's hand and take away the most important card that they're going to try and utilize. So for the K9s, we are on 3 Azuna. The lineup is pretty much standard for what you'd be looking for in a K9 lineup. 1 K9 Lupus. And then we're on 2 Jockle. Now this is the only big difference of this one, and the reason for that one is because the amount of level 5s is a little bit more reduced in this version than in something like a Vanquished Soul, which will probably have the most, because you've got 3 Jiaolong, 3 Holly Sue. Then, of course, if you're looking at like Super Quants as well would have like 2 level 5s in it, which is pretty much the same one. And I kind of felt that I wasn't really wanting to utilize Jockle to take that additional card out of my hand. I'd rather use this, like, not so much as a starter, but I'd rather use it as a normal summon of the deck, then search me out a Azuna, search me out a Lantern. And then once it's so easy to get golds and silvers to the graveyard, Lantern becomes even more important. So the 1 Lantern, you could play 2 of it, but again, it's one of the ones that early doors, not doing anything, later doors, really helpful. One K9 X-Forced and one a case for K9. Now, obviously, using a little bit of common sense, if you see a case for K9, you're going to activate it. You're not going to utilize the dangers. That then gives you the ability of getting access to your K9 X-Force, and there are ways you can recycle this from the graveyard, so it's not an end-all be-all if you don't get access to it, or if you discard it off a danger. Speaking of dangers, I am still on the danger package. Just in general for Dark World strategy, it's still really, really good. Triggering your Dark World effects, being able to extend the field a little bit more. The only downside is there's not really a good level 5 for the danger archetype. So that's kind of where it falls back. Like if you did have a good level 5 that you could utilize, you'd probably be going down that route, but sadly doesn't. 2 Nessie, 2 Jack, 2 Mothman, 1 Bigfoot that you could probably cut if you wanted to, and then the one Salamander Catalyzer, which is like your selected danger. Moving on to the generic spells for the Dark World side, you've got your 2 Gates of the Dark World, 1 Archives, 1 Accession, 1 Corridor, and then filling off the back of the, and Puppetry as well. I still like Puppetry. Like, I think this can be really, really good. In the K9 matchup, you get rid of the Lupus. You just need to make sure that you're chaining it to the Lupus. Otherwise, you just go Lupus, bring it back. In the Yomi matchup, you can get rid of the cards they're trying to bring back from the field. You can get rid of their Link monsters. Yes, of course, they do have ways to recycle those. But this can actually be really, really kind of cool in certain matchups to get rid of those resources. It can also be really, really good to get rid of the Dracotail resource as well, which can be quite cool. And then we do have the 2 Trill Tactics Thrust into the 1 Talents and the 1 Destruction. Keep in mind that this can also get you into Corridor. I feel that these are going to be even more live these days, just for the pure fact that you're able to utilize this. Not only can you create a scenario where you can trigger it, but then if you're up against K9s, if you're up against Dracotails, they're going to trigger it more times than not as well, and that's when you get a bit more benefit. I personally wouldn't use it against Dracotails until they're putting a monster on the field, and once they do, you go, cool, I'm not going to add a card rather than setting the card, and I'm going to grab myself a card destruction maybe. Even though you've just added all those resources back to your hand, I'll just go, okay, cool, card destruction, get rid of them. Even though you're giving them a fresh hand, you're getting rid of the resources that they've specifically gone out of their way to get. So if you end up like discarding 2 Feymanas, they've then got 1 Feymana that they need to try and get back from the graveyard to loop back into resource. So that's it for the entire main deck. Now to show you the extra deck. In regards to like a side deck for this one as well, you really kind of adapt it to the environment you're going to. I would personally be playing stuff like maybe a Virus, because obviously you can utilize the Virus or the back of Trill Tactics Thrust. You could utilize other cards like Prankatoxes can still be quite useful. Evening Matches, Dark Rulers, like you kind of want Field Breakers more than anything else. And then if you do go first, you want those Floodgate Trap cards that you'll get that gives you access to stuff like maybe even a Black Go that last, I think is really kind of cool, because if you discard it, you don't really care. So for the extra deck, we are only playing 1 fusion monster in the form of the Greffa Dragon Overlord of the Dark World. You get this when you want it. You don't need to rely on it as heavily. It's not one of the ones you need to get early doors because of the K9s now. The K9s will give you that protection as early as you possibly can by going into stuff like your Ripper, and that's where you could double up the Ripper if you wanted to. For the links, I've got the 1 Underworld Goddess of the Closed World, just so that we can out towers. I still feel that in a format like this, if you disrespect towers, you can get caught off guard, and you don't want to be getting to like the last round where you could win everything, and then your opponent goes towers, and you're like, I have no out to this. You want to make sure that the entire deck has natural outs to as much as it possibly can. 1 Skuldred to extend your plays, 1 Bower Q, followed up by the Akashic. It's just my personal preference of the one I like to use. I know some people like to use Security Dragon. You can use both if you want to. I'm happy with just the Akashic. 1 Muckraker, 1 IP Masquerena, 1 SP Little Knight. And then for the XEs, so for the XEs, you've got the 1 Daguerres. So these are just ones that you discard your hand, you get some advantage off the back of that, draw cards, revive, you name it. For the rank 5s, we've got the 1 Valon. So Book of Moon is actually really quite important. So there will be some times where Book of Moon and a Yummy monster can be quite helpful for you. But then more times than not, you'll probably go into something like your K9 Ripper that you can double up should you want to. The other rank 5 we play is the Imperial Princess. You don't have to play this card, like you can sub this out and go for a second Ripper if you wanted to. But what I liked about this is it allowed me to detach material to then target any level 5 in either graveyard. So if I'm in the mirror matchup, I can bring back one of my opponent's K9 monsters and then utilize that K9 monster to search me out a card, whether that be Azuna to send, whether that be going into the Jockle to search, Lantern to search, you name it, you've got those options off the back of it. But also importantly is this can bring back your silver or your gold. So when you're bringing back those 2 cards, you then have the ability, as I mentioned previously, that you can return that silver back to the hand. You can then go for a rainbow, you can return the rainbow back to the hand and get a Greffa to the field. So what you've done is you've then netted 2 more cards back to your hand advantage, and that's how you can then start to play your dangers. You don't have to play it, it's entirely optional on that one. That's where I'd highly advise maybe a second Ripper in its place. The 1 K9X Werewolf, like, is if you needed even more ways to rip your opponent's hand. You don't have to rely on this card. Again, this is another flex spot should you want to, but it's just one of the ones that is a like a prerequisite, I suppose that's the right word, I don't know, but it's like an added benefit of the back of the K9s. And then the final card that I'm playing, so massive shout out to Stuart on this one, because like Stuart asked me for this card, and I was like, oh, that's really interesting. I wonder if he's picking up cards for DDDs in the future. And then he played it in his K9 match, and I was like, oh, that's what it's for. So if you haven't guessed yet, it's DDD Marksman Kingtail. Now, I know this is like a £10 rare, so don't rush out to buy it if you are not already have one of these. But the idea behind this one is you would go into your Marksman Kingtail, which can be useful if you are Fiend locked. And then you can go into your Devicer King Dulce Machina X. Now, the reason you would do that is Dulce Machina X actually has a really, really good effect. That when your opponent's once per chain, when a monster card your opponent controls activates this effect, you get a quick effect to either detach 2 materials from this card or destroy a dark contract card you control, and then you attach that monster to this card as material. So you can steal your opponent's Artheon, you can steal your opponent's Yummy, whatever monster they've started off with. It can be really, really quite helpful. You can steal the opponent's, like for example, if they link off into the link 1, and then they try to use this effect on someone to set the field spell, you go, okay, cool, Deus Ex Machina to absorb it. They would then have to have they would have to be doing it in the main phase, and they would then also have to have another monster that they can synchro someone with. And if they can't, you just go, cool, absorb it, and you're not putting it in the graveyard for them to bring back. It can actually be really, really useful. So I thought this was kind of like a cool little meta tech card that could be quite good for the entire deck and the strategy, especially whatever matchup you're going on. Now, keeping in mind, more times than not, you're probably going to focus on the hand rip, because if you successfully hand rip your opponent, they're not playing the game, they're not winning that game, you win that game. If you can't, you need as many fallbacks as possible. And being able to play a card like this off of the back of something like your K9s can be very, very important. But then also being able to add the additional synergies of the rest of the rank 5s in here and getting more utility out of silver and gold can be really, really helpful. And you'll see that we're not just using them as like discard fodder, we're actually using them as like field presence and then rank 5 capabilities. So that is pretty much it for the entire profile. Very simple, very to the point. The idea is just to say, hey, K9s can work with Dark World in a nice, fun way. There are some additional bridges. It's also, be very careful, don't run out and buy this, but if you're like, should I wait for a ban list before I pick up Fiendsmith just in case that changes? And then if I do, rather than spending X amount on the Fiendsmith, do I just grab the K9 package? You kind of have that option available to you. Keeping in mind that the K9 package is pretty much, the Fiendsmith package is pretty much the same. You're either going to go down the sequence route to enhance your ability to fusion summon, or you're going to be going down the Wave King Caesar route to give you those lines of protection if you wanted to. But yeah, I really like this. I thought it was kind of like a cool little mix-up. I'm not saying it's the best version around. I just like it as something a bit different that probably not a lot of people would have even expected to be considered. And like I said at the start of the video, if you know me, you know that I like the idea of being able to update Dark Worlds in one way or another, depending on how the format kind of shifts. Like I said, you could very easily bump this deck up even more if you wanted to, and actually play, you could very easily play the Kokimiru Guardian as an additional way to protect from draw. Because then what you do is you go normal summon Kokimiru Guardian, and your opponent activates any card effect in the hand. You're like, cool, you've activated all my K9s, and then move on from there. The benefit of not playing the Kokimiru Guardian is that your normal summons can become your K9s as long as your opponent has 2 cards in hand, which 99.999% of the time they're going to have. Anyway, short, sweet, simple, to the point. Hope you've enjoyed this. Any questions, comments down below. Otherwise than that, stay safe, and of course, happy dueling.